Hey guys, really excited for you guys to come in and take a look at the finished product. We originally introduced 227 Mohawk in Rainham. My clients are moving out of the house and they have since done so. And we had Nancy come to do a staging consultation and we're about to show you the finished product. So with Nancy's help, we're gonna take you through the property, so come on in. All right, so I'm gonna have Nancy kind of talk to you guys about first impressions. So obviously when we come in to the entryway, this is going to be where we're going to bring in, assuming that we don't have feet and feet of snow. This is where we're going to bring folks into the house to see sort of the first impression. So that I know is a priority for you, is to make sure that this space sort of feels good right when they walk in. So what did you decide to do here?
So what we wanted to do was show the space and the fact that there is so much space. It's a nice big foyer, and we don't want to clutter it with too much. We have beautiful hardwood floors. We want them to notice that. We want them to notice the glass French doors, and by using a little bit of what the home seller had, which is this pretty console in the front, we're able to highlight that.
Now, is this something with the French doors? Is this something you would normally keep open, or would you keep it partially closed? What would you suggest on something like that?
So I would say for photographs, it's always nice to have one open and one closed just to show that they exist. But during an open house, it's great to have them open. So people really peek around the corner and say, what's going on here? And this is something special too. So these rooms are really important.
Yeah, let's go in here
This is the study.
to the study, yeah.
And this room was really important because it's sort of a gateway to the rest of the house. It is the first impression, but it's important to show a function in every room.
Yep.
And a lot of people are working from home. They like to have the front view. So you look very comfortable. That's what we're going
Very
for.
comfortable. Yeah.
Lots of storage. Somebody else is, if they're working from home with a client, we want to show options and opportunities. So it's sort of a balance between not being cluttered, but showing how a room can function.
Well, what's interesting about this room too is the first time we came through, I think that there was some curtains on the wall, and even in that room, because of how big the furniture was, it almost sucked up some of the natural light. But now when you get in here, even when you're sitting here, there is so much light coming through all of the windows, and it sort of just feels really comfortable and warm.
Yeah, it's a beautiful setting, and you want to enhance that with staging, get people to remember where they are, step back from the street, an incredible backyard. And this room in particular, I think, could be challenging for people if it wasn't staged, because it isn't clear how to place furniture without blocking these two doors. Mm-hmm. So that is something that, staging answers that question. How would we put things and still be able to watch TV and be able to, have a conversation in here? So by flanking the fireplace, we're highlighting that and highlighting this whole area for buyers. We're not blocking anything. We want them to know that they could go right out from either door. And these Palladian windows are gorgeous, and we want to highlight that with the artwork. So by placing it that way, it sort of draws your eye straight to the outside.
Yep.
And gets people to see that profile of the window. So I think this is the way that buyers make decisions, is they say, oh, I can understand this. This could be done
this way.
A number of different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like it. And all of the sort of a little bit of a muted tone to everything too, just so that it's not quite as bold. Do you ever use, I know some of your artwork has pops of real color, but even then it's sort of like a softer tones with, even if you don't use a whole lot of reds or oranges or, anything like that. Do you ever put a lot of color into staging, or is it mostly sort of muted?
We use a lot of muted. We want people to notice the house, not the artwork.
Yeah.
Sometimes an owner-occupied property will have something that needs color to balance it out. They may not have wanted to repaint a wall. They may have light fixtures with a lot of saturated color. And we always want to make our artwork purposeful, mm-hmm. so that it directs people to that. So if someone has a very ornate light fixture and has a lot of colors in it, we'll look for a piece of artwork that capitalizes on that.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and even if you look through this room, I know you had to replace the light fixture that was over the kitchen table, and you didn't go with a rug down on the floor either. Was that sort of intentional, just to highlight the hardwood floors?
Very much so.
Yeah.
We want to show the hardwood floors, but we also want to define spaces. Here, the light fixture gives us that definition. We know this is the eating area. We want to highlight that you can fit a lot in a room. So right here, we changed this light fixture. We wanted to show this as additional seating in the kitchen. It is an eat-in kitchen. We also want people to be able to see right through to the backyard. So we didn't want to cut things off with a rug versus we wanted to pull it together here in the seating area.
I think people naturally too with eating kitchens, they sort of get accustomed to like how much space. A lot of people when they think tables, you're either looking at like a rectangular table that's going to come from like what was here, right? Something really long that you fit 3 or 4 people on either side, or they look at something that's like a really big round table, and it sort of starts to cut into the space on the island or getting out the door. But this is sort of a unique size table because it illustrates that you can have an eat-in kitchen here where you can sit down, but it doesn't need to be sort of this massive piece of furniture.
Well, I agree. I think it's a delicate balance between being able to make it functional and show people they can eat here. And clearly there is more room than we've done this, but also not overwhelm the room with the size of the table.
Yeah.
And this home has a beautiful dining room, so you know, this isn't even.
And it's not that much further, right? This is for sort of casual, everyday eating.
Right.
You've got the space at the island if you wanted to put a couple of stools. But the other thing that you start to notice too, at least for me, is that, and again, I know how people live is different from how they kind of prepare the home to show it, but just the space that you see here with all the counters, when it was occupied, it didn't feel like this. It didn't feel like there was an overwhelming amount of counter space. But now with it all cleared off and a couple of very select pieces, it just seems that much bigger.
I think so much of what you said, I agree with the difference between selling and dwelling is really the way we showcase the home. Here it's all about the beautiful granite countertops and the hardwood floors and the cabinets, versus when you live in a home, you need to have your things out, you need to be able to use them, but buyers want to see what they're getting, not how we're living.
Yeah, and even some of the suggestions, like you can tell they had their painter come in, you know, just kids and life and everything like that. All of the woodwork was sort of touched up. The walls where they took down a lot of the artwork that they had or photos, all of that was touched up, and everything in here, like all of the woodwork, just it really pops. And that goes back to what I was talking about with the natural light.
Yeah.
Especially with that white molding, everything now just kind of seems light and bright and airy and breezy. It's a really, really good feel in here right now. So take us through your decision, because I noticed that you took down the curtains here, which we originally thought we were going to keep, right?
Right. And this we decided today when we brought in the artwork and the furniture, we realized that we weren't getting as much natural light as we could without it, and we really didn't need the additional shears. And again, you have new windows here, you have beautiful views, that's what we want buyers to see. And sometimes when you're staging a house, you know, what we'll do is walk around with cameras and you can tell right away, oh, we're blocking something, let's take that down. We had them replace the light fixture. It's much more modern.
Right. Because the other one was like sort of a bigger piece, right? I think it had like almost candlestick vibe to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a much more modern vibe. And even if you get 6 people at this table, you know, you still got a ton of space in the room.
I think people could use this as everyday dining too. We didn't want to make it super formal, because I think a lot of people like to have that opportunity, and you could fit a larger table if you wanted to.
Yeah. But again, right off of if you don't make it as formal, the odds that you'll use it, I think, go up pretty dramatically.
I agree.
So I know that we didn't stage the secondary bedrooms upstairs, but we did the primary suite. So I'd love to go up and take a look at that.
Great.
Yeah. This seems great. So take me through the thought process. Like how did you decide on what you chose to put here?
So this room is very large, and we wanted to create the ability for buyers to see multiple things that they might be able to do here. The most important thing is always the bed.
Yep.
And often the decision maker is the person who lives here. We wanted them to feel that it was elegant and luxe, and they could see how much more they could fit but not feel crowded. And we really gave a lot of thought to the sconces. Those were here, they were built in, and we needed to work around those. So by mixing a variety of metals and colors, we showed different ways that people could use this space. I'm really happy with how it turned out. We wanted to lighten up the darker walls, so we used a lot of light colors here. And then this area, I remember when we saw this with the home sellers, they had a really clever idea. They were using it as a stage for their children.
Yep.
But most people wouldn't use it that way, so we wanted to not block the window, but get buyers to notice that this would be a lovely sitting area.
Sure.
You know, again, sort of those light colors, mixing metals, both with the artwork, with the pillows, pulling it all together.
Well, I think that goes back to sort of what I've learned a little bit about design over the past couple of years too, even with sort of looking at spaces like my office, or we had a designer help with our dining room and our living room. And what always surprised me, because naturally I was always like, well, if you take a room, you've got to kind of match the theme everywhere.
Yeah.
And what I think is really cool, and this sort of highlights, is you've got a lot of different colors, different textures. You've got natural wood, you've got, you know, sort of a black gray, you've got, you know, gold, you've got, so you can really start to mix and match sort of textures and colors and, you know, woods and fabrics and stuff like that. And if you sort of have an intention behind it, it can really all come together. So I think somebody that comes into this room is going to be able to, one of these themes
Right.
is going to hit them, and sort of they're going to create a little bit of an attachment to it. So especially with the different, you've got gray, like a navy, and then you've got, is this like a teal sort of color? So you've got some different colors going on, but yeah, it looks great. So let's take a look at the primary bathroom, because I know that that was another sort of challenge for us on this property, just to determine like what you wanted to do. Let's let Lauren pop in and just get a video of it. So you went with, I know we had originally talked about doing like a larger rug in here to sort of pull away from the deep color that was there. What made you go with something smaller?
Well, what we decided was functionally, this is what people would expect to see, is something that frames out this beautiful tub, the sunken tub. And we didn't want to implicate the blue as, you know, a negative. So as we pulled it all together, we realized, you know, a lot of people would like this combination with the countertop. So let's celebrate it. The thing that the home seller did is they took out the window treatments, and that gave us actually a lot of license to play with the colors that were here that are neutral.
Yep.
So I think it, you know, I think it enhances the space without calling attention to the floor with something really big, as if we're trying to cover it up.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because naturally most of the bathrooms that we stage, we always tell folks to do like whites, really light color, basically all linens and everything. And we typically don't have anything on the floor, but I like that this is sort of something that's different, that blends a little bit of the floor with some of the other colors that you have here.
With the artwork, yeah.
Yeah. It softens the boldness of the wood and the navy, if that's not something that the buyer is particularly interested in. So yeah, this is awesome. All right, so most of the rest, we decided not to stage the basement. It's just the seller got all of their, you know, personal property out. So this is about it, and I couldn't be happier with sort of how everything came out. I think buyers are going to really be able to see the size and the different options they have for sort of style inside the house. It's not meaning that they have to go in one direction. You know, I think anybody's sort of style can come in here and envision their stuff in here. So, yeah, this is great. Thank you again.
Thank you. That's the goal. So I look forward to seeing the listing and seeing how buyers respond.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do too, because I know we're going to have this online, but just tell everybody if they'd like to get, if they're a real estate agent or if they're a seller, how can they get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me, you can email me at nancy@showhousehomestaging.com. All my information is there. I'm happy to help you with any of your listings and any of your staging.
Yeah. So everybody look Nancy up. If you need to get a hold of her and you can't, certainly shoot me a DM or just a message here. We'll connect you directly with her, but try not to get too busy so that you're not available for us, all right? But thanks for following along, guys. And if you watch this with enough time, 227 Mohawk in Rainham, it's going to be listed for $925,000. And we're excited to get this on the market and help get this one sold. Thanks for following along.